before we get started. Let's see. I want to vote to see whose voice sounds better.
Oh my gosh.
Team Chantel.
Mic check, mic check. Check
Team
1, 2.
Rene. Mic check, mic check. Welcome to our second episode, and this is awesome. Welcome to Real Talk. We're going to get real. I got an awesome guest today who's a really incredible person, Chantel Silveira. She's actually my licensed assistant, and I'm excited to share why everybody needs a licensed assistant. We're going to have some fun. I know it's always nerve-wracking. It's only our second podcast, but what I love about our podcast is it's all about being real. And one really cool thing I just want to tell our audience is last time I did go figure, we do our first podcast, and I lost my voice a few days before. So I'm feeling a little better.
Sounding a little fresher.
I do feel better. And last time it was hard, but let's see if it changes anything. So I want to welcome Chantel to the podcast. And a lot of people are probably like, well, what's going to be real about this episode? And biggest thing I want to get across here is your background in terms of kind of what got you into real estate, how you got into it, and then tell the audience what your current role is right now with Team Rene. So without further ado, how about you take us through the 2018 and 2020 years?
Yeah. So I decided to get my license in 2018. That was right when AREA kind of cut off, that they weren't going to be doing the schooling anymore, and it was going to go over to Humber. So I was all excited getting my real estate license. I applied for a job at Keller Williams, which at the time I had no idea what Keller Williams even was. Like a lot of people who kind of just see real estate from the outside, you kind of know those big names. You don't really know the other brokerages.
Right.
You know Royal LePage, you know Remax, you hear those names. So I applied to Keller Williams for the receptionist job, and I did that for the entire time that I was working on my license. So I kind of got that back end experience and just wanted to get to know as much as I could about the industry before getting my license and going all in.
Right. And this journey that you're going to take us through, one of the big things that I want to get out of this is that if there are people who are thinking of getting in the industry and maybe don't know where to start, I love your journey. I love where you started, and I love where it's going. So yeah, 2018 to 2020, you started that admin career.
Yes.
What happened come mid 2020?
Yeah. So next, I had the mindset the whole time that I was working on my license that I was going to take it slow. When I joined a team, it was going to be the team that I'm going to stay with forever. And that was going to be my whole real estate career. So I joined a really high producing team before I finished my license. And I joined as a client care coordinator. And that was a little bit of a different role. I wasn't just doing basic admin and booking anymore. I was a lot more involved in the actual day-to-day sale and helping that realtor get the job done.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important thing to mention for anybody who's getting into the industry. If you can get into the industry and do more than just the admin work, I feel that's pretty cool because it opens up your eyes to potential growth. So
exactly. And even working at Keller Williams, as I started to kind of befriend agents around the office, I had quite a few people come up to me and they were like, good luck with your courses, get through them as fast as you can, and then throw that all in the garbage because it's not applicable and you're going to have to learn the actual day in the life after.
Right.
So that was kind of my first insight into real estate schooling, that it wasn't so applicable to the real day-to-day real estate life.
So you're saying that when you were in school, the minute you literally got your, when you got to see the back end of the real business,
yeah,
it was night and day compared to what you learned.
Yeah, we're learning meets and bounds. We're learning things that the kind of lawyers and home inspectors would deal with. Right. And of course, that's all great knowledge to have, but it's not part of what you as a realtor are doing day to day. You're bringing in the home inspectors, you're bringing in those third parties. So a lot of the schooling I found just wasn't super applicable, and a lot of realtors agreed with that.
Well, And geez, like wait till we do one of our next episodes where I'm going to bring in someone who recently got their license.
Yeah.
With the way they do the courses now, it's like, yeah, it's next level. And then there's a lot of fear that goes into it. There's a lot of second guessing.
For sure.
And it's funny, the minute they get their license, they come in, and when we meet new agents, they're like, oh, thank God, this is like fresh breath of air, the reality versus actually doing all the courses. So
Exactly.
I'm chuckling because I want to know, like, what are some of the crazy, frustrating, funny things that you've seen as an admin back in those days?
Yeah, no, I remember when I started at KW and I was working front desk, you know, my knowledge on the real estate industry wasn't huge. Like I was very new, I was learning myself, and my main job was booking appointments. Like I was booking through Broker Bay showings and stuff like that. And we got a call from an agent, and he actually wasn't from my brokerage. He was from another brokerage. And he starts with just telling me he's interested in this property. His clients are interested. So I'm like, okay, what time do you want to book your appointment? Because that was the extent of my job at the time. And he's like, no, like we've already seen this property. And I'm like, okay, so do you want to register an offer? Like, how can I help you? No, I need your help putting together an offer. That is exactly what another agent from another brokerage said to me on the phone as a front desk administrator.
I mean, you see all things.
And that was the first time that I was like, wow, like a lot of these agents don't have a clue. They haven't gone through the training. They haven't had a mentor. They are writing a blind offer on behalf of their buyers right now.
Wow.
And I was just blown away. I remember looking at my coworker beside me and being like, does that happen often? Like,
I mean, that just goes back to that whole thing about when agents get in it for the wrong reasons, or they're part-time, or they genuinely just don't know, or maybe they haven't been mentored. So tell me this. So when you were on that team, what was that prompt when you were like, okay, I love what I see. I want to be a realtor. I want to get my license. I want to go out and start doing all this realtor stuff.
I think it's a little bit of what everyone on the outside sees. It's that moment of I can do that myself. It's I want the whole piece of the pie. I don't want to be sharing. I want to go out and I want to be the go-getter. I want to make all those sales. So I did leave that position eventually, and I joined another team as a full-time realtor. And again, that was a whole different experience. Each of my roles have taught me so much about the industry as a whole. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I did take a year to try just the sales on its own, no admin.
Now, so this pattern is you went from admin to another admin position, client care. The neat thing is you went to a team. Yeah. So why did you go to a team when you became a realtor versus just going on your own and saying, hey, I can do this, I absorbed everything? Yeah. Why did you go to a small team versus solo?
Good question. With that advice that came from before, just kind of being told that the schooling was nothing, let that all go. With that came, you need a great mentor. That was kind of one of the biggest pieces of advice that I got when I was officially licensed. Right. So I thought, if I am going to jump into this and I'm going to go for sales full time, I do still need that support. I don't necessarily want to do it on my own, but I need a mentor. I need a team behind me, people who can help me grow and learn more.
Love that.
Yeah.
And you saying that about needing a mentor is huge. We'll get into it in a few minutes, but that's massive because I feel like a lot of new agents, they're so caught up on the commission splits or what's in it for them. And I feel if they look at it like, actually Ryan Saravelli made a really good point in our previous podcast that you are investing in your career. So it shouldn't be about the splits. It should be about who's there to mentor you, who's training, what are you learning, and how are you going to grow? So I love that about the mentorship. Now, you were there on that small team. This is where it gets real. You were on this team for about, a year and a half?
About a year.
Okay. Yeah. So just tell us some of the highs and lows and just certain things that you wish you knew before joining such a team or things that you wish you had that you didn't have, just in case people are listening here and they're like, hey, yeah, I wanted to go join a team, but what are some of the pitfalls or what are some of the things that you wish you really got out of this team? Yeah. And how did you kind of just come across getting through all that?
So again, I wish I got a little bit more mentorship out of it. That is the number one reason I would have joined a team. And when you're a realtor, like you said, you're looking at these splits and you kind of have to justify them. Right. And if you are paying a split, you kind of think of it like your education. You're putting that split and that money towards your training and your mentorship, like Ryan said. So I feel like it was just very basic. Like we were doing the things that every brokerage tells you to do. You're scripting in the office once a week. You're kind of chatting once a week, but then that's where it drops off. There was no mentorship outside of that one weekly team meeting. And that's what I find the issue with a lot of these teams are. They don't have a leader who is in a position to actually be in the office mentoring their younger agents.
Right.
They're usually realtors who need to be out there grinding.
Well, true leaders lead, and then true leaders got to also delegate. So
Exactly.
you can't, like, to be successful in this industry, you can't be doing everything, right?
Right.
If you're going to be the leader, you got to commit to all your agents. You got to commit to marketing. There's a bunch of things that go behind the scenes, but you cannot not lead.
Exactly.
If your title says leader or coach,
Yeah.
you have to be there.
If you're growing a
24/7.
team, you need to be available to mentor your teammates.
Yeah. So you were there for a little bit,
Yeah.
and you were doing the real estate thing. What were some of the biggest just demoralizing things that you see? Not so much with the team. I'm just talking about when, like, in that time, right? That the market was also not great, right?
Yeah, of course.
2023, massive adjustment, right? Like when I look at when you got into the industry, that 2021, a lot of people got into the real estate industry, and we're actually going to talk some numbers later about the amount that are leaving right now, but a ton of agents got into it. So do you think maybe if less agents got into it at that time, things could have been different, or just what were some of the biggest obstacles that made you kind of look for your next chapter in your life?
Yeah, I think just being in sales and seeing the way brokerages operated and teams operated, you just start to feel like a number. I feel like that's kind of how the demoralizing part for me felt. Like you said, it was a hard market. I got my license pretty shortly after COVID hit, which is a really fun time for a lot of people. So it was just a hard time in general because of the market. B, mentorship, like I mentioned. And then 3, you're part of these brokerages and these teams who they just want to see you produce. If you're not producing, there's no positivity. It's negativity surrounding you, it feels like.
That is a great point.
Yeah.
I've said this many, many times when I talk to peers and colleagues and other agents that, we are in a numbers industry, and we become realtors because we want to achieve success in our own ways. But I feel that if you don't have attainable goals, and if they're unrealistic, there's nothing more demoralizing than someone telling you need to sell X amount, you need to do this, that, the other. So I feel that having realistic goals and starting at the very beginning of the year is a good thing. And if you don't have that, the year just becomes a big roller coaster.
Exactly.
So
yeah, you want to be encouraged to hit your goals. And like you said, realistic goals opposed to just trying to hit these skyrocketing numbers that majority of new realtors really aren't hitting.
Well, so I think this brings me to a very funny just topic. I feel like I love Netflix, so I think you know where I'm going with this, and other shows, especially real estate shows.
Yeah.
So I feel like
tons of them now. So many.
In 2020, 2021, the amount of new realtors that I honestly feel got into the industry because they start seeing all these shows, glamorizing how incredible and easy it is to be a luxury agent or just go and make millions of dollars. I feel so many people got into it for the wrong reasons and unfortunately at the wrong time. What's your take on just a lot of those agents that got into it then, and even if there's agents right now who are just thinking of getting into it part-time just because it looks so glamorous and amazing, like from what you've learned in the last few years, like what's your take on that part?
I mean, I would say there are definitely glamorous parts to real estate, but a lot of the behind the scenes and the grit that it takes to build your business and get to that point is not so glamorous. And that's what a lot of these shows don't show you. They show you selling Sunset and you see Chriselle going to her $20 million listing. And that's just not the reality. You don't join a brokerage and get handed a listing and good luck.
Yeah.
You have to prospect and you have to grow your business and you have to make yourself reliable to your clients. And that's not just an overnight process.
Right. And I think when you join a team, at least you can get that coaching, that mentorship.
Yeah.
You can learn that it's not as easy as what these shows make it out to be, but it's really important to get the reality of what happens at ground level.
And it takes an army. Like most of these successful realtors have these teams behind them and the support behind them. It's not a one-man show just, making millions of dollars a year. It's just not feasible.
100%. And I think leading into this whole situation with agents that think they can do everything. They get into the industry, they feel like they can do all the admin, paperwork, marketing, do showings. Like I feel that a lot of agents that do get into it, they stress themselves out a little too much, and
Absolutely.
they spread themselves very thin. So one of the big takeaways from this podcast is that having a Chantel on a team is incredible, because you're going to take us through what happened after you were on that team in 2023, and then how you and I kind of just met and how we became I guess a part of this team. So tell us about what led you to leave that team and that brokerage.
Right. So 2023 was a very up and down year for me. There were a lot of things that kind of took place. For number one, my mom was sick, which was a really hard time for me.
Yeah.
And that was kind of just a little bit of a wake-up call. It was a really just sit down and think about, what do you want to do with your life? Are you happy where you are right now? Not even the industry, just exactly where you are. The team, the brokerage. Could this industry be better if you were somewhere else? Should you leave it altogether? These are kind of all the options that were going through my mind at the time. So I did take a step back. I was an agent with Revel. I joined Rene at the beginning of 2023 as just a solo agent with Revel Burlington. Yep. And I also started working part-time at a gym outside of here, just to kind of get my things in order, decide what I want to do, clear my head.
So, and this is where it gets real, because in 2023, when you joined us, it was awesome. Like, we were excited. I told you I wanted to mentor you. I wanted to give you everything that you deserved as an agent. But there was just something where it wasn't resonating. It wasn't clicking. Yeah. I couldn't, my biggest thing is, as a coach and as a mentor, is I always try to figure out everybody. That's like my biggest strength. I feel I try to, and we went through some months where I just didn't know what was going on. And just take us through like those, maybe the first 3-4 months in 2023, given the market was where it was, but then you were going through personal stuff.
Yeah.
And then kind of what happened, like come mid 2023.
Yeah. So again, I was kind of struggling with just those options. I had a few different things of what I wanted to do, stay or go. So I was working and I was kind of deciding what I wanted to do. And it was never a hate for real estate. It was not that I didn't want to be in the industry anymore, but I knew I just wasn't happy in that solo sales role. Like, I like working on a team. I like working with people. I still want to be a part of the transaction.
Right.
And that's kind of when I saw Renee's ad come up for a licensed assistant. So that's where the ball kind of starts rolling, and I kind of brightened up, I'll be honest. Like,
take us through, just before we actually had this opening for this licensed assistant position, but take us through, like, there was moments, right, where you were literally about to leave real estate.
Yeah. No, that was one of the options. I was like, should I just leave the industry altogether, maybe focus on the fitness industry, which I was doing on the side. Yeah. So those were the options I was kind of balancing. Just, it's what we talked about before. There were a lot of demoralizing experiences, things that I didn't know if I wanted to go back to as an agent. So that's kind of, it was perfect timing, kind of. That's how it all happened.
Yeah.
If that ad hadn't have come out at the right time, I don't know if I would still be in real estate today, to be honest.
It's unbelievable. And then for those that don't know what a licensed assistant is, or aren't familiar with that term, like, I call them lifesavers. They're godsend. They're angels. Honestly, having a licensed assistant is incredible. I just finally was able to put this opportunity out there last summer, and we're going to talk a lot about the back end of real estate and how a licensed assistant can seriously just save your time if you're trying to be a leader and you're really trying to get out there and do more.
Yeah.
But also, the cool thing with this opportunity is that I feel you found your it, and that was kind of your calling. It was unbelievable how it happened. We were, like you being a realtor and being there this whole time, and then applying for this opportunity. I feel like right now it's been pretty amazing. So you joined in this position last August.
Yes.
Your mother was ill.
Yeah.
You know what? It's a very, in life, there's nothing harder than doing things that are uncomfortable, whether it's talking about, illnesses or just failure. But you and I, like, we have this big connection because we both have lost our mother. And if you can relate to anything that we're going to say in this podcast, this is probably one of those things that it just shows the real side, right? We're human. We've been through a lot,
Yeah.
and
Things happen. Things change the course of life and the way that you're going towards things.
Yeah, like, you just got to look at life differently,
Yeah.
and you and I, we always talk about real estate is a very high and low industry, and sometimes you just got to ground yourself and say, you know what, life can always be worse. We try to eliminate negativity. We have a very we're very pro positivity and just having positive vibes and collaborate within each other. But just tell us how that whole situation just kind of elevated you, and because you've mentioned some pretty cool things about all of that and how you wish your mom was here, and just seeing that you're beyond happy and glowing, and
No, just obviously my mom was here to see me go through all those different roles. She saw me start in 2018. She saw the client care role. She saw me as an agent. And all she wanted for me was to be happy. And she saw that I wasn't that happy go-getter girl when I was working solely as an agent. And, you know, that comes down to a lot of the things that we've spoken about, comes down to work style, and just being self-employed is a hard job to have. And finding that grit every morning to go out there, and whether it's cold call or door knock, all those things. So my mom just saw that I wasn't in the best space when I was in that role. And she passed away actually right before I took this role with Rene. And now I think back and I just think about how happy she would be knowing I'm settled in a role like this where I'm stable, I'm secure, I'm still doing the parts of real estate that I love.
You are kicking ass. I'll be the first to say it. And
but I didn't have to let go of any of the parts of the industry that I liked. I essentially get to be an extension of you. I get to work with all your clients. I get to be a part of all the transactions. It's something I didn't really know existed in this industry until it fell into my lap. And it's funny how life works.
Yeah, I really feel that a lot of just agents that are out there that you really want to elevate, I feel like having a licensed assistant will get you there. And a lot of the top agents see the benefit, and just, you know, you were saying you are an extension of me. You're an extension of our brand. And for me, there's nothing more satisfying than when clients are being taken care of by you, and they're complimenting you, they're saying how amazing you are. It's seamless, and for me, it's just peace of mind that I know I can go out and then just help more clients.
Exactly.
So having that at my disposal is a huge asset. And I always tell clients whenever we're meeting them for the first time, I'm like, hey, like, we have a Chantel. Like, everybody needs a Chantel, and it's cool. We're just getting started in this role, but I have a lot of cool ideas, as you know.
Oh, I know.
Now, on the note of mentored, so one thing that we didn't really chat about yet, which I'm actually really excited to talk about, because obviously you're with Revel.
Yes.
Revel is all about mentoring and collaboration. So just take us through quickly, like, some of the cool differences that you see with Revel versus your previous brokerage, but touch on the whole mentoring thing.
Yeah, mentoring with Revel is awesome. Like, I didn't know previously, but I learned every Revel office has a designated mentor, maybe even two.
Yep.
So as a new agent, if you're joining the brokerage, it's mandatory that you are at least with a mentor for 1 year. And that way you are ensured that you are going to get help with those first transactions you do. You're going to get a mentor on your open houses, your listings.
I wish I had a mentor in my first year.
Given to you.
It is next level, game changing. A lot of brokerages are going to say, yeah, we got a training program. It's like, here you go.
Yeah.
You can join a webinar.
Or come to our training sessions weekly.
But Lord, this mentorship program with Revel is literally one of the best things that I feel as a new agent. If you really are looking for that mentorship and you're not all about just looking for the commission or numbers, the mentorship is incredible. Take us through a couple of like the last recent agents on our team that you've just like give a couple examples of what you've done with them and how you've helped them, because there's always funny stories, right?
So I took on the mentorship role a couple months ago with Revel Burlington, which has been amazing. Again, another role that I didn't know I'd be so intrigued in, that I love. I've been helping our agents. We've had some interesting ones come up. We've dabbled in some commercial, which was a learning curve for me for sure, but that tests me. I have to be able to help our mentees and help them succeed. And there's no
there's no better feeling for a new agent to say, hey, can you help me with such and such? Like we have a really big onboarding checklist with new agents, that whether it's showing them how to do a proper open house, writing offers, getting your web forms all in check.
Getting all that paperwork sorted, because everyone seems scared of that. No one wants to get sued
Yep.
once they start out. So no, it's been awesome being able to kind of, again, take all the knowledge and experience that I gained from the previous roles and now use them for good.
Yeah.
So I feel
And
like,
it's funny because you probably didn't realize how good you were at some of these things that you're doing right this moment. Like if I was to ask you a few years ago, or hey, you want to be a mentor somewhere?
What are you talking about, Rene?
In real estate or the gym? I mean,
Which one?
yeah, but like, and this is
No,
cool.
it's
Like
true.
this is up your alley. So I feel like our newer agents really appreciate everything that you do. So on that note, here's something I want to ask. So, well, not so much ask, but like a lot of people just don't realize everything that goes behind the scene in real estate. So what I want to do is let's just take a very recent scenario of a CMA. So we did a comparative market analysis for a home in Burlington.
Yep.
What a lot of people don't realize is how much work we do on the back end before we get to a property.
Yeah.
We analyze, we hyper analyze, we go hyper local. We do a lot of number crunching, and then when it's game time and we're in front of the clients or potential clients, just like take us through what you've seen as a licensed assistant and how we do things here at Team Rene. But take us through that whole intense research, everything that goes into a market analysis.
Yeah. So when we're crunching numbers, like Rene said, and we're going to go see a property, we know how the market is, we know the trends, and we want to be as accurate with that price as possible. We don't want homes sitting. We're not in the business of overpricing homes to make the seller happy. And we back that up with data.
Yeah.
Like Rene and I, when we go into CMAs, like we have our comparable actives, we have our comparable solds, we have our stats about the market. We are ready to kind of defend that number to the bone.
Yeah. And like where we really see a benefit going to see a client when there's myself and a licensed assistant, it's always cool when we're walking around and let's say like you're talking to one of the spouses, I'm talking to the other one, or if there's pets, God forbid, there's pets, Chantel's rolling on the ground with them. I'm joking.
But then you're able to talk and do business, so
yeah,
it works out.
And it actually goes really, really smooth. But we feed off of each other in front of the client's home. Sometimes I may miss something and you might bring it up again. So like we are there to make sure that we're giving the client the absolute best information.
And I think that gives them a little bit reassurance too, that it's both of us coming in, backing up this number and this marketing plan and everything we're talking about. It's not just a single realtor with no background coming in and presenting this huge plan. Like we have numbers, we have facts, we have our brochures, we have our details that we bring.
We do like a 45-page analysis of what a home is worth. That's something I feel a lot of agents should be doing, is analyzing, making notes in front of the clients.
And we even had a client push back once and just say, well, if an agent asks you how you got to that number, how would you defend it?
It's a great point. And the way I always look at things, and again, if you're a newer agent and you're struggling with CMAs and how to land deals when you're in front of a client, is if you do all your homework in advance and you do your numbers, and if you can convince yourself of the number and the value of that home before stepping foot in that home,
exactly,
that is what makes you, that's what sets you apart from most realtors, is go in there, because if someone's going to try to grind you and change your mind, and then you've just failed. You've hardcore failed, because what's to say that you're not, if you do get the listing and then you have this price and then you start getting offers on it, or you don't, it's like, how do you handle that?
How are you going to negotiate on behalf of your client if you can't even negotiate with your client?
This is the thing. It starts from the beginning. The minute you start looking at the analysis of a home, and then you step foot in a seller's home, and you know the value, and you're confident, and you can go in there and say, Mr. Client, Mrs. Client, this is the game plan.
For sure.
And sure, we might be off, 10, 20, 30,000, but no one should ever be off like 100, 150, 200,000. We've seen some crazy things where, every time I look at stats and I say, how on earth did this agent get this listing? where they priced it at X and they did a $200,000 price drop within a few weeks, and then et cetera, et cetera. Like
Yeah.
we agents, for the most part, we should be able to be fairly accurate.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
yeah, we put a lot of time into our market analysis, and I feel having a licensed assistant is just so incredible and a huge extension.
And it's important to keep in mind too that like a lot of this real estate, like sold prices, statistics, it's all public knowledge now with access to the internet. So you're going into these listing appointments and your clients are they're ready. They're like, I know that house that's sold down the street. I know exactly what it looks like. So
That's
you
a
need to
great
be
point.
on your A game.
Well, and I got no issues with some of these apps that are out there. I
Yeah.
love them. I think they're really good tools. You can find out what homes are selling for pretty
Exactly.
quickly. And
You don't want to show up at a CMA and your client knows the most recent sale and
Yeah.
you don't. Like you really need to be on it to the minute before that CMA takes
100%.
place. Yeah.
100%. So we have to be available at all times of the day. It's pretty intense. One massive benefit of having a licensed assistant is that if I'm in meetings, if I'm tied up with family for whatever reason, if I'm on holidays, you're there. We always start a little group chat with our clients, which is beautiful because
Every client wants to feel top of mind. They
Yeah.
don't want to not be answered for 3-4 hours because you're working with another client. You know, they want that immediate response and
Yep.
we're able to give it to them. We're able to provide that immediate service.
we're in a day and age where technology is literally at our fingertips. And
Yeah.
I think there's a stat, and it's got to be that the phone is by our side about 90-something% of the time.
Scary.
So we have we have no tolerance for and I mean I'm going at it with some realtors out there. I'm going at it with just people in general, but there's no excuse for not being able to respond pretty quickly in this day and age, right? So I know if I'm a homeowner and I've got a pretty important question and I'm not getting a response like fairly quickly, like literally, it starts to make me second guess. Who did I hire,
Yeah.
right? They said all this great stuff at the CMA,
But is there someone better, quicker
right.
that I could be working with?
or it's an awkward situation, right? Some people like to avoid replying to awkward questions,
Yeah.
awkward scenarios. And I feel with our strategy and our style, we confront it as soon as we can.
For sure.
We're very transparent that way, but again, having you there helping me out with all my things that I got going on is a huge benefit. I love that, and I always want clients to know that from the beginning. So, quality of market analysis, like one thing that we're on the topic of CMAs, a lot. You see this a lot of times. Some realtors will go in there, present a price. They don't really present a marketing plan with how that home is going to be listed. And that's kind of frustrating because whenever we go and see a client, we want them to know everything. And I mean like the marketing plan, all the services that we're going to provide.
Pre-list, post-list, what we're going to do while it's live, everything.
We don't want to, there's no need to forget anything when you're going to present. You got to be on your A game. Commissions, it's always, I hear all
Our
sorts
favorite
of
topic.
I hear all sorts of stories, and listen, I get it. My first few years in real estate, it was a little awkward. It was always hard defending that commission, but
But it shouldn't be so awkward. We're
No.
providing a service. We are in an industry. We're providing you with a service that you need, and you don't have problems paying other industries. Like if a lawyer asks for a retainer to secure their service, why is it different
Well, here's
for
the
realtors?
issue, Chantel. We in our industry, we get so painted with the same brush. It's a big frustration for me because we hear it often in the news. We hear it from other agents, other people. It's just like, oh, yeah, some realtors make too much money. Some realtors or all realtors are making too much money. And this is the thing that kills me because when you look at the way a good chunk of realtors do their business and you look at the investment that they put in there and you look at whether they have an office, excellent marketing, do they have employees, do they have assistants, do they have a game plan? Like when you look at those that are doing it right, and then you look at those others that are taking photos
on their cell phone.
Yeah. Like I don't blame, if you're listening and you're a potential client, I don't blame you for thinking that some realtors are doing a
Lazy.
crappy job.
Yeah.
I don't mind because there are so many realtors that do a shitty job, and it really frustrates me because I feel those are the agents that are getting paid, let's call it fair commissions.
Right.
But then when you compare those to the agents who invest in their business and take it very seriously,
Exactly.
then they make us look bad. So, yeah, it's unbelievable what we see out there, and that's one of the here's in the headline that just came out, Feb 17th on the Toronto Star. Like it's crazy. Like when I read this headline, 45,000 realtors in Ontario are leaving the industry. There's about 100,000 realtors, give or take, in Ontario.
Yeah.
That's a massive amount. But, am I surprised? No. I actually probably said this in many of my other YouTube videos. I've been saying there's a lot of great realtors who put out great podcasts and YouTube videos. And, we've been saying things like this. We've had too many realtors in the industry.
For sure.
And a lot of them are just giving us a bad name, I feel, and it's frustrating. And they're the ones who don't really speak up as much. Yeah. So what's your take on just that headline, right? It's massive.
I mean, I think everyone says it. Real estate is such an oversaturated business. Everyone knows a realtor, whether it's your brother, your cousin, your friend. And that is typically who you end up working with. Unless you are friends with a bigger realtor on a bigger team, you typically pick the person you know and you like and you trust. And that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to run the best business in terms of getting your home sold or helping you buy.
Yeah.
So just seeing that stat, it's tough. It does suck that so many realtors kind of are leaving the industry. But again, no, it doesn't surprise me because the cost it takes to be successful in this business, you have to invest.
Yeah.
You're investing in yourself. You're investing in the marketing, everything you're putting into it, and hoping to see that return and hoping it works. And if you're not doing the things that you need to do to grow that business, you're going to fail. Yeah. And it's sad and it's hard to say, but
well, thank goodness for the courses being a little bit more difficult nowadays. Yeah. I feel like that has helped a little. But we're still getting a lot of people get into the industry with this thought of, hey, I'm going to get in, be part-time, sell a couple houses per year. Well, here's a fact. Like even selling 2 to 3 homes in a year,
it's not enough.
It's not enough, but it's not a lot of realtors are doing that.
No.
So, I just quickly pulled up some stats because you all know I'm a stats guy. Just like I'm just speaking here on behalf of like Oakville, Burlington, right? It's where most of our business is. I pulled some sales, and there was about 4,400 sales that happened in 2023, and this is all based on the Oakville Milton board. There's give or take around 3,000 agents in that region. So I have to double check that though, but there's over 2,500, I believe, in that are a part of the Oakville Milton board. So if there's around 3,000 agents and 4,400 sales took place in Oakville, Burlington, like when we do the math, it's not a lot to share.
Not enough realtors are transacting. Some realtors are doing 0 deals per year, which is crazy to think about, holding your license and paying the fees, because that's another expense. We have to pay to hold our license and transact. So these people are paying and they're not transacting, or they're doing 1 or 2, hoping that it'll pick up.
And it's funny. It can be
scary.
It's a good point that you mentioned that, because imagine you're only doing 1 or 2 deals a year and you are paying quarterly dues and you're paying all this or some marketing. You tend to get a little like desperate. I feel like that's where the shady agents come out, because now they're just telling you to transact. Now they're just saying, yeah, Mr. Client, just buy that house. It's all good. You know what? It's behind a petroleum chemical plant. That's all good.
Perfect.
Don't worry.
You'll love it. Or listing a home and, like you said, doing the bare
buy
minimum.
Now, regret later. There are agents out there that are just pushing the limits, and this is where I'm actually. It's a bittersweet stat, but I'm happy that a lot of those part-time agents are leaving, because when you're a full-time agent and you're invested and you gotta, you're doing it for the right reasons and you're trying to do the good, I think this is great for us. And I hope that, in my opinion, that just more part-time agents get out of the industry. Exactly. I feel that we need more professionals to hold that high standard of what a realtor should be doing with your home. That's like your most prized possession. So
at the end of the day, it is your most prized possession and probably the most expensive thing you will ever purchase or sell. And you should have someone who is transacting more than 2 or 3 times a year be behind you and help you with that process.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're getting into the industry, please just get, I think going into a team is the way to go. Learn from
invest
those,
in the training, do the right things. Yeah.
Learn from those who have been around, see how they're doing it, shadow them, go and ask questions galore.
Listen to podcasts. There's so many podcasts now with so much valuable information.
There are.
Yeah.
And this is why we're doing this with you, because I do feel that if anybody is out there thinking of getting out of the real estate industry, just don't quit.
Options.
There's a way to maybe change your team, change your brokerage. Just don't give up. But at the end of the day, you got to go with what your gut is telling you to do and where your passion is. But I'm very happy where we are, and this whole episode was about talking about how you became a realtor and then joining me as a licensed assistant. You get the best of both worlds.
I kind of came full circle from brokerage to team to agent back to team.
But do you see how it's all paid off nicely, right?
Because every role was a completely different experience and taught me something I either liked or disliked about the industry.
Right.
And ultimately that got me where I am today. So I am thankful for all those experiences, good and bad, regardless.
Real estate is a roller coaster.
It is.
I don't like roller coasters, to be honest, but I don't mind being, I said this in my previous podcast, I don't mind being on my back. And jiu-jitsu taught me a lot. Sports has always taught me to just never give up. Yeah. So I think when you're surrounded with people who aren't afraid to tackle on these tough times, those are the kind of people that will help you elevate and get to where you want to go.
And the strong ones are the ones who made it out of 2023. So there's only good to come now.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy, no doubt.
No.
But I feel that the market out there and homeowners, this is one of those markets where if we can keep educating and showing them what really is happening at ground level and showing them the benefit of who we are and what we offer, like this is it. This is the year where I feel you got to work that much harder. And you just got to keep investing. You got to keep giving. But I do want to end this podcast on just a very important note in terms of what clients should be getting. Like when sellers especially, like when you're looking to sell your home, you should have an expectation, and it shouldn't just be all about commissions at that point. But I do feel that here's just some of the big things that we do here at Team Rene in our style, and I feel a lot of agents out there, if you're listening, these things will help you solidify and get those listings, show clients that you are in it for the long run. So we've got an office in Burlington. Yes. We're well invested. We feel that having a place locally is great. I'm not saying you need an office, but it is a nice way to show clients, hey, like we're here for the long run. We've got an amazing licensed assistant who is an extension of why this formula will work. Mm-hmm. We have an incredible creative designer on our team.
Shout out Ash.
Ash, I know you're listening. So Ash is an incredible marketing and creative director. She does everything. So having that on a team is huge, versus just you doing things on Canva. I mean, if you do things on Canva, that's okay. But having someone who is committed to the marketing is so important, and we're very brand and marketing focused. My wife is a part of this business, and I say the real leader, the real boss is Rosie. And having her as a business manager on Team Rene is huge because there's so many people around me, and this is what I want listeners to know. It's Team Rene, but it's really the team that's more important than Rene. And I feel like there's so many people around me that help bring this brand to life.
For sure.
And bring the results. Now, I am a very unique individual. I do have a lot of ideas. I just love how everybody keeps me grounded, and I really, really appreciate that about everybody around me. So
it takes an army.
That's how I want to end the podcast, is on positivity, collaboration, and just being grateful for great people around me. So thanks for listening, everybody. And I can't wait to do the 3rd episode. We'll see you again.
Bye, guys.